Yeah, that's right. Off the Grid is back, baby. I've been gone for a little bit, but I am back and I'm loaded up and ready to come at you once again for the new year. And I got a special guest in the house today, baby. So it's time to get it on off the grid. Hey, we're talking music and we're talking familia. Let's get it on, baby, because we off the grid.
Now we can all get down, put the drink in the air. Fellas happy with shot, and ladies let down their hair. I got the sound that'll have the people bobbing their heads. Forget the 9 to 5, gonna play it again, cause it won't stop. It's all about the feeling inside. Another path on the journey of the hip-hop ride. If you're down, leave your drama.
Yeah. Happy Sunday, everybody out there. Here in the Southwest, here in Las Cruces, West Texas, Arizona, wherever it is you're at. Chilling as we get into the new year, man. Thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Off the Grid. I've been gone for a little while, but I'm back. Decided to take a little time off. Had to kind of reload a little bit, man. But I am back, ready to do it, man. And some of you, if you know me, or even if you don't, you may recognize the other man on the screen right here, man. Needs no introduction, obviously, by me. But for those of you that do not know, this is my brother, Bobo, Adolfo, Garcia. Hey, what is up, brother? How you doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you, bro? It's good to see you, man.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Same here. Just chilling, man. We're getting ready to get into the new year. You know how it is, man. So I see you got your Niners gear on. It is game day today, man. So it's been a little rough for us, bro. I'm a Cowboys fan. You know, we both had a bit of a rough season.
It took me a few weeks to accept the fact that we're not going to be in the postseason this year. But it is what it is. You know,
it is. Can't win it all every year, man. You know what I mean? So,
I'm a fan, man. That's their job.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
I'm just a fan. You know, so I feel bad for the guys that go out and they work hard every day, and to have such a disappointing year because of injuries and just other things, involved in-house things, I'm sure. It's just tough for them. Same thing with the Cowboys and other teams that had disappointing seasons that had high expectations,
Yeah, I just laugh when fans are like, man, why don't you just tank? These guys need to be losing. And it's like, do you go to your job like, trying to be at your absolute worst? You know what I mean? Because if you do, you ain't going to be there very long. But so a lot of people, man, out there that may not know you, but if you're from Las Cruces, you have heard the name, the Krucez band. You may have heard the name Algo Nuevo, Sancho Cats, music, man. Back and when the music scene was really popping here in Las Cruces, man, going back to the 70s, 80s, 90s. And that's where this stems from, man. So we're talking music and family today, brother. I already know everything about you, but give everybody out there a little bit of quick background, man. Tell everybody about yourself, bro. Little intro.
My name's Adolfo Garcia. Friends and family and fans know me as Bobo Garcia. I started playing when I was 12. Started playing professionally with Dad's band when I was 13. And then when I was 15, I joined the Krucez band. Played with them for 15, 16 years. And then shortly after, while we were still with Krucez, we created Algo Nuevo. It's kind of a side gig. It was me and Jaime Trujillo from the Krucez band. Some of the guys from Rio, some of the guys from Cielo. We all got together. It was just kind of something that we put together to have a side gig because of Dennis at the Rainforest.
Yeah.
Asked us to do that. And so when we disbanded the Krucez band, Algo Nuevo went on for 11 years. And then after that, took a 6-month break, and then we created the Sancho Cats. And right now, I'm on a self-imposed hiatus.
Yeah. So now I remember when we were growing up, the earliest that I remember you playing an instrument, obviously, was I remember we were in elementary school, and we were playing the bells. I think it was because we used to walk I remember you. Remember you? We would walk to. Was it? Was remember Serapio was our crossing guard at
Oh yeah,
University Hill. It's
yeah,
horrible. I remember all this stuff, man. It's so old. Actually, it's a good thing that I remember. But and I remember we would walk to wherever our babysitters was, and you always had that big case with you. Was that
yeah.
kind of your introduction to actually learning an instrument, or were you playing something before? Because I was a little too young to remember anything before that.
Well, it was. I was playing the xylophone. When I started learning, I started band. I think in the 5th grade or 6th grade. It was you were required to, if you wanted to play snare drum, you also had to learn to play the xylophone. So that's what that big case was the xylophone, and then my snare drum. So that's how that
Now,
started with that. But I mom tells me that when I was 3 years old, I told her I was going to be a drummer. You know, but I
I
remember.
always that's what I always remember is you just playing drums, whether it was in your room, somewhere else, whether it was playing air drums, which you still do
I
nowadays.
still do
That's
a lot of
that's
air
you've
drums,
always
bro.
done that all your life. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
never gonna leave me, man. If I can't be on stage playing, I'm gonna play in the car at least.
yeah. Was there ever any instrument or aspect with being on stage that you wish you had learned?
I wish I had learned to play the bass
Okay, yeah.
because I love the bass guitar. That and the keyboards,
Keyboards, yeah,
and not even like full synth or anything like that. Just piano, you know, just something simple like that. And I had the opportunity to learn that stuff. I just never did, because um, life gets in the way. Aside, unless you're doing music full time as a living, you got to work the day job to pay the bills.
yeah, yeah. Ain't that the truth, man? You got music. Even while you were getting paid for it, with the band back in the day, it's still unfortunately for most of us, other than the lucky few, music just isn't a primary source of income for us to be able to live off of. Yeah, that's everybody's dream, but a lot of people don't understand how much talent out there is that never actually gets discovered, that never gets the big break. A lot of this talent, man, me and you have discussed this so many times, is much more talented than what these commercial artists that you're seeing or the guys that are getting paid are getting, and that all falls into the whole corporate part took over music and stuff. But tell me, so I talked about, when you would play and get paid for these gigs. Tell me a little bit about how you got your start with Krucez band and your time with Krucez band
But when
in the
I,
early.
because I just gotten out of dad's group, they went on a little bit. They took a break for a little bit, and the roadies that we had, Jaime Garcia and Lalo Salais, they got an offer from the Krucez band to be their road crew, and Lalo called me up one day and he's like, "Hey man, we need another roadie. You want the gig?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'll do it, man." Me back then, it was all about music. I lived and breathed and drank and ate and everything music.
Yeah.
Um, so I took the job, and they were Lalo was only paying me $20 a gig. It didn't matter if we were in town, out of town, or whatever. But Johnny Trujillo knew who I was. He knew who Dad was, and he had watched me play with Dad's group. And so, little by little, he would ask me, "Hey, you want to play a song?" And of course, I'm 15, 16-year-old kid, super excited to play with the Krucez band. I jumped at every chance to jump on stage and play drums with the band. And after about a year of just being roadie and stuff like that, um, it got to the point where they were very demanding with me and they wanted me to do a lot of stuff. And we had a kind of a heated discussion at practice one time. And I told Johnny, you know what? I quit, man. I'm tired of this. I don't, everything you guys are demanding of me and expecting me to do, you're asking a lot of me for $20 a gig. And he's like, what? You're only getting $20 a gig? I said, yeah. And so right then and there, he changed it. And he told the band, you know what? He told me, from now on, I pay you. And he told the band, Bobo's a full-time member of this band. He says, you still have to roadie, but you're a full-time member of this band. And whoever doesn't like it, there's the door.
There you go.
And nobody said anything. I know some of the guys didn't like it because I was so young and they felt that I hadn't earned my spot. But Johnny Trujillo, man, I became the musician I became because of him, because of all the guys in the Krucez band. You know, I learned a lot from all of them, and they supported me a lot. You know, Johnny's the one that gave me the confidence. Like I was never a singer. I just always wanted to play drums, man. I didn't care to sing, and Johnny would hear me singing, you know, off the side of the stage or whatever. And he told me one day, you know what? We're going to learn Neon Moon by Brooks and Dunn at practice this week. Learn the song because you're going to sing it. And I remember telling him, Johnny, I'm not a singer. Yes, you are. Your dad can sing, so I know you can sing. He said, you're going to learn the song. And so I learned it, man. And I remember just being super nervous the first time we did that tune was in Santa Fe, at a club in Santa Fe. I don't remember the name of the club. I think it was Chaps or something like that. But I remember I was terrible, man. But, you know, when the song was over, Johnny's like, all right, man, good job. All the guys in the band, all right, they're trying to pump me up, man. But I knew I was terrible, you know. But you know, my time with the Krucez band is some of the best experiences of my life musically. You know, because I have some amazing experiences outside of music.
Yeah.
You know, like everything with family. You know,
Right.
But I learned a lot from those guys, man. And you know, when we started getting successful and getting notoriety and stuff like that, I remember they got us, you know, our management got us an etiquette coach and stuff like that to teach us how to act properly around celebrities and stuff like that. So that's why you've never seen me ask anybody for an autograph or a picture. You know, if they offer to take a picture, I absolutely will take a picture with somebody, but that's why I don't have too many autographs either, you know?
Yeah. I think I'm kind of been like that too, you know, where you just kind of, when you meet somebody, and I don't know, maybe I do get this from you and other people that I've known, you know, I'm thinking more about the actual experience of me meeting them. You know,
Right.
yeah, you get autographs here and there, and you can get something signed, and that's always something nice to have. But if I'm going to be real with you, I don't know about you, but a lot of the autographs that I've gotten over the last, you know, 20 years or so, 30 years, I don't even know where those things are anymore,
That's how
to
I
be
am.
honest.
I have no clue where a lot of that stuff is, you know?
But you've
Even
got the memory of meeting these people. You know what
exactly,
I mean?
you know, and I've always said, and I think you've heard me say this too, it's like I I don't care if people believe me about the people that I've met or the experiences I've had in life. I know I've met these people,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and that's all that counts. I have those memories, I have those experiences, but you know, Johnny Trujillo, all these guys in the band, they taught me, you know, act like you belong. Act
yeah.
like you're one of them. Don't act like there's somebody special because you're special too. You know, everybody is special in their own way, whether they're musicians or artists or whatever. Everybody's special in their own way. So act like you belong here. Don't act like a fan.
Don't
You
act
got to act like
starstruck.
they're here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and they taught me that.
don't act starstruck, man. That's because then you are a fan, you know. And there's nothing wrong with if you do music out there and you're watching this or listening. There's nothing wrong with, you know, if you meet one of your idols or one of your influences, to acknowledge them as that you are a big fan of their music, you know.
Right.
But I think there comes a point when I at least in my opinion, and I've seen it with other people when they meet other artists, that I'll be like, damn, that's kind of a little bit of an annoying. Like it can get annoying if you become too starstruck with a certain
Right.
with a certain artist. You know what I mean? But that's just something I always saw with other people.
Because
Now
there
the
are some artists that excuse me, there are
no,
some
you're good.
artists that do get annoyed by that because they just want to talk to you like you're their homie, you know.
Yeah,
And a lot of artists are really cool that way.
yeah,
I've met a
yeah,
lot of artists that they don't take themselves too serious, man, and they'll treat you like they've known you forever. But then I've met artists where they do want to be treated like the star,
yeah,
you know, and they
yeah,
do want people to act like a fan. It all depends. You just, you know, it's all about reading the room.
yeah.
The ones that want to be treated like the star and stuff like that, I cut the conversations short with them usually
Hmm.
because it's like, all right, I met you, man. I need to move on because I don't want to. I don't want to get a bad impression of somebody, because I have met a few artists that I was a big fan of, and after meeting them and dealing with them, I stopped supporting their music because of the way they chose to treat the fans and the way they chose to treat us, you know. And it was some artists that we were on the same bill with, you know. And it's like, yeah, no, I don't want to be like that. I'm not going to support your music anymore either, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of it all depends on the personality of the artist. They're different, just like the personality of the average music lover is different. You know, like I remember one time when I was living up north in Santa Fe, you know, doing a show when I was able to get Don Cisco and a lot of the guys from the Bay Area to go do a show over there. And, you know, of course, Cisco hung out, man. We were cool. But there was another artist that came with him. I don't want to say no names, but
Yeah,
people,
we're not
people,
we're not gonna we're not gonna name drop the bad
yeah.
people here, the good
But
ones, man.
he was, yeah, yeah, and he was one of the ones that was like, I remember Cisco telling me, man, like, you see that dude standing next to him over there? I said, yeah. He goes, unless you are a good-looking woman or somebody that's buying his drinks, that dude's instructed not to let you near him. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? I said, like,
Wow.
you realize this dude does he not realize he's playing in a small little place like this? You know, not some big arena, which he had before. But I guess my point is, you know, and that was the difference. You saw Cisco, like I said, he's hanging out with me, Don Cisco. We're kicking it, man. We're chilling. He's showing love to everybody. And then there's the other one that was his boy that was like, no, I don't want nothing to do with anybody. And it's a big difference in personalities, man. But I get it from like what you're saying. A lot of times you don't even have to be a musician, but just a music lover when they say do not meet your heroes sometimes, because sometimes you're going to be disappointed.
And that's true. That's very true, man. I've met a couple that it just broke my heart to see the real people that they were.
Yeah.
You see this image that back then, you know, when TV actually put videos on, music videos on, you
Yeah.
see this personality that they've created for their videos and stuff, or for their live performances that are on TV. And then when you meet them and they're just not nice people, or they're egomaniacs, or very self-centered or self-absorbed, it's heartbreaking, you know. But then
Yeah.
there's the other side of the coin where you meet some artists that you admire or whatever, like, you know very well, you know, one of my favorite artists of all time is Ruben Ramos in
Mhm.
the Mexican Revolution. Ruben, to this day, is still one of the classiest human
Yeah.
beings I've ever met in my life. That
He's
guy,
about as humble as they come, man.
yeah,
You
very
know?
humble, you know, two-time Grammy Award winner, and you wouldn't even know it,
Yeah.
you know, because he'll sit there and he'll talk to everybody. I've literally sat there at several shows that we've done with him and seen him tired after traveling 12 hours to get to the show, do the show, and then sit there for 2 or 3 hours after the show just to shake every hand, take every picture. You know,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
everybody does that. There's a lot of artists that once they say thank you everybody, good night, they rush off the stage, they're back in the bus, and they're headed home, man. They don't want to
That's
stick around.
no meet and greet tonight. I don't care how much
No.
you pay, man.
Yeah.
So all right, man. So we were talking about Krucez's band. and you mentioned a few names in there, man, that I'm going to ask you about right now.
Yeah.
In any order you want, man. Tell me a little bit, just whether it's stories or whether just your thoughts on three guys that I know personally were like among your biggest influences as a musician, as not just as a musician but as a man. Johnny Trujillo, Jaime Trujillo, the Chen Dog, Mr. Chendo Ontiveros, may he rest in peace. Him and Johnny. Tell me a little bit about your boys, man.
Well, I mean, those three guys right there were my main mentors, not just as a musician, but like you said, as a man and in life. I learned a lot from those three guys. They took me under their wing, and all the guys in the band did, but mainly Johnny and Jaime and Chendo. They were very protective of me, but they pushed me. They pushed me to bring out the best that I had in me, even when I didn't think I could accomplish something or be a better musician. They pushed me to be a better musician. And being on stage with such great musicians like Manny Martinez, Mando Albiar, Jeff Segreto, Conrad Barrio, guys like that, Johnny, Jaime, Chendo, they make you a better player. Like the Michael Jordans of the world, that they make everybody on their team a better player. All those guys made everybody. They made themselves as a group. They made us all. We all made each other better musicians and better players, because we would challenge each other at practice and on stage. It's like, hey, check out what I can do. Do one better. Um, and I've over the years I've to this day, it was just the 30th anniversary of Johnny Trujillo's death. Thanksgiving Day was the 30th anniversary. And I still think about that man every single day. 30 years later, there's not a day that's gone by that I haven't thought about that guy. I still hear his voice. I still hear his laugh. And he was the funniest guy on stage, man. He would tell these little jokes that the crowd just loved. Anywhere that we played, people just loved Johnny Trujillo. And it didn't matter if we were playing in Chicago or we were playing in California or Texas or wherever. He was always very proud. All the guys in the band were very proud to say that we were from Las Cruces. Half the band was Mesilleros. They were from Mesilla. Everywhere we went, we were very proud to say we were from Las Cruces, New Mexico. We'd be playing on a military base somewhere at a festival, and every time Johnny would ask, "Where's all the Mesilleros at?" Everybody from Las Cruces, anybody from El Paso, and you would always hear a couple of people everywhere we played, man. And we just thought that was the coolest thing. So we would make sure we would tell, hey, if you're from Las Cruces or Mesilla or New Mexico, El Paso, whatever, come to the side of the stage at the end of the show. We'd love to meet you. And people would come, and it was very cool. We would trade stories, and these are people in the military, so it was very cool to talk to these soldiers, and we'd talk about places we like to eat and stuff like that. And it was, you could see just the joy in their eyes to meet somebody from home, because they hadn't been home for 2 or 3 years. So to meet somebody from home was very cool to them, and we love that, and talking like Chendo, man, my compa Chendo, he would always tell me, it's like, man, he would tell me, you know what, Bobo, you're not the fanciest drummer, man, but damn, you hold it down, man. You're solid. You're as solid as they come. He's like, your timing is like impeccable, he would tell me. So when I'd be back on the drums or Jaime back on the drums, we always locked in with Chendo, man. The dog was just a solid bass player, man. He always played in the pocket, and one of my, I used to tease him, and tell him, I love watching you on stage, bro, because you don't even pay attention to the crowd. You look down at your bass and you look like you're making love to the damn thing.
It
And
does,
my
yeah.
compadre in my head would always be like, he is. He treats her better than he treats me. It was that whole going joke, man. You heard that several times. But it was true.
Chendo always, when I would watch him, man, I'd be running the lights or helping run the sound, and it was true. Like it seemed like every time Chendo, no matter what was playing, man, he had his head going. He was always into the music. A lot of times you can tell, even, and I see this with a lot of musicians, even if they're looking around and looking at you, they're not seeing everything around, but they're hearing the music, and that's exactly how you said about Chendo when I would watch him on stage. Because I think it was you one time that told me, "Dude, watch Chendo on stage, bro. Watch Chendo on stage," and it's true. Like he was always, yeah, like he was caressing that bass, man, and yeah, so.
He'd look down and he'd give his little smile and like he was loving that damn thing.
But when Chendo made you, like when he was telling you about being a good musician, or when Chendo told somebody something like that, like you took it for 100% because of the respected musician he is, And I remember when I would get up to rap, man, and every time I was done at the end of the night, I'd be rolling chords or whatever, and he would be, Gabriel, hey, that's chingón, Gabriel, and he would give me like the big, and he would be like, man, bro, I love the way you do that, and so I get it, man. Chendo was always that guy that knew how to really make you feel good about what you were doing on stage, man.
Absolutely.
It was cool
because that guy, Chendo didn't just throw compliments out.
Yeah.
If he gave somebody a compliment, that was a big deal, because like you said, he was a very well-respected musician, but he didn't just throw compliments out, man. If he complimented you, you needed to take that to heart because he meant that from his heart.
Yeah.
And same thing with Johnny Trujillo. But, one of the other things I learned so many things from Johnny and from the rest of the guys. I never heard Johnny say anything bad about any other musician or any other bands. And and we used to have a lot of groups talk shit about us because it was the jealousy thing, because as we were becoming successful, other musicians that we ran in the same circle of clubs with, they were hating on us. Before the word hater became a popular thing, we had a lot of haters. And Johnny would tell me, you know what? Because a lot of musicians would make fun of the way I dressed and stuff because, I used to wear the loud suits, the bright colors and stuff like that. And Johnny would tell me, don't worry about what they say. He said, look at the crowd that's here to see us. They're loving the way you dress. They're loving the way you move. They're loving the band. Who cares about the noise and what these other bands are saying? They're only saying that because it's envidia. And he's the one that taught me, let them talk. As long as they're talking, that means they're worried about something. There's something to be jealous of if they're talking shit. It's when people stop talking that you need to worry. That means you're not doing your part,
Yeah.
So I've carried that with me my whole life, not just as a musician, but in what I do for a living and stuff, It's like, that's been my attitude. You know what? Let people talk shit. Why do I care?
True. That's true. You take a lot of these lessons you learn in music and just carry them over into life, man, and you can do that. Now, I remember all my years in Krucez band. This was after Johnny had passed away when I joined. He would Hyman Trujillo, man. You guys always had this chemistry on stage together. Like, and it was really like him and Chendo. I would see it, man, just that chemistry there, because there was a lot of great musicians people don't understand here that came through Krucez's band. You know what I mean? A lot of them that you haven't even named yet, and it's no disrespect to any of them. It's just we can sit here and name them all and talk about them, and we'd probably end up doing like a 2-hour, conversation just about that topic. But tell me a little bit about your chemistry on stage with Hyman.
Hyman, man. Hyman really took me under his wing when I joined the band. He used to tell people I was his son, and I would call him Papa. I call him Viejito Polvo, dusty old man. And I still call him that. I talked to him last week, man. And but Jaime taught me a lot too. He would tell me, conduct yourself with class. The whole band would tell me, don't cuss at your crowd. Don't, like, there's certain artists out there. One of the biggest artists in Tejano music that I remember used to sit there and say "chingue su madre raza" and stuff like that, like cussing at the crowd and totally disrespecting them. And they would tell me, "That's not us, man. Conduct yourself with class." They taught me, you always want to dress better than your crowd.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we wore suits all the time. We wore suits, man, or matching outfits. They would tell me we have to dress better than the crowd because they're the ones that are paying their hard-earned money to come watch a show. We're not there to watch a show. We're getting paid to provide a service, entertain these people, and put on a show. And they're the ones that taught me it doesn't matter if you're playing to 5 people, 500 people, 5,000 people, you put on the same show every single time because you never know, those 5 people paid just as much as the 500 people would have paid.
Yeah.
So you always give them a good show. You never know who's going to be in that crowd. And all that started to ring true when we started getting offers from like Warner Brothers and Sony Music and CBS, Capital EMI, because we started to make a little bit of noise, especially once we recorded our first album, Cruising After Dark. And we're having #1 songs in Arizona and Texas and all over New Mexico and Colorado. And all these Tejano acts and all these labels are curious as to who's this little band, Krucez, on an independent label, Gold Dust, that has a #1 song over La Mafia, over Grupo Mas, over Little Joe, over, we have these #1 songs, and they're like, who the fuck are these guys? And so these labels started to send reps out to just hear us at clubs. And I remember, man, the guy from Warner Brothers, we played at Victoria's in Las Cruces. We played at Victoria's.
Some of y'all watching that don't remember Victoria's. I know some people listening and watching this remember good old Victoria's. Man.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Mary Jane, Lodia, and Emma, and they were always so good to us, and may they rest in peace.
Yeah.
They did a lot for the community. They really did, especially Senator Mary Jane Garcia. But I remember one Sunday night we played there, man. We're basically playing to the staff and maybe about 10 other people that were in the crowd. And after the show, and Sunday nights, sometimes we have the funnest time on Sunday nights to a dead crowd because we would pull out songs that we hadn't played in 4 or 5 years, and Johnny
it was like a jam session.
Yeah, we'd be like, man, I don't remember that song. And Johnny would tell us, man, it's in the key of C. Just follow me. Just follow me. That was his favorite saying. Just follow me. So we would play the songs and we'd have a good time. But then if somebody hit a bad note or made a mistake, you heard about it at the end of the song. Johnny would be pissed off. It's like, how'd you make a mistake? I told you to follow me. It's like, Johnny, I hit one bad note. That one bad note made the whole song sound bad. He would. But I remember, man, that's the first time that we played to a small crowd, and there was a A&R rep from Warner Brothers Music that told us that they wanted us to be a part of a showcase because they had been hearing about us and they heard a couple of our songs on the radio in Texas. And so that was the first showcase we did. They flew us out to San Antonio to do a showcase with about 4 or 5 other unsigned bands. And we got an offer from them. We ended up getting offers from a handful of major labels that we ended up turning down because they basically wanted the name of the band. They wanted the voices, and then they were going to bring in a bunch of studio cats to record all the music. And we were like, no, we're a band.
Yeah.
It's going to be us. doing these live shows and stuff, so it needs to be us on the recordings. And they didn't want to deal like that. They're like, no, that's not how it works. Everybody uses studio musicians. It's like, yeah, but we're not. You know, we had decided from the beginning we're going to do it our way, or we're just not going to ever sign with anybody because it's going to be our way. You know, and Johnny Trujillo, we found out after he passed away that he had these labels weren't just offering the band; they were giving him offers to be a solo artist, and he turned them all down because his Mary Lou told us that he literally would tell these labels, "Look, I'm the lead singer of a band, and this is my band. This is our band. They make me sound good. If I'm ever going to be successful in this, we're doing it together. It's not going to be just me."
Yeah.
And I'll always respect him for that.
If he had chosen to go that solo route, you know,
Exactly.
people would be mad, but at the same time, you're like, well, you can't hate on a musician for that.
Right.
But at the same time, like you said, it also takes a certain kind of character and loyalty to your brothers, basically, because that's what music is. And I learned that when I became a part of the band with you guys. Was it's a brotherhood, man. Like people don't understand it. You know, you talk about when you play in sports, it's a brotherhood. You know, military, it's a brotherhood. Music is the same way. There's going to be egos. There's going to be fights. There's going to be, you know, good times, bad times. But but it's about the chemistry you guys have with each other. And so the loyalty he showed there, that says a lot. That says a lot about why he was so beloved here.
Exactly.
You know,
and people still love that guy.
yeah.
You know, anytime I go home, whatever, people still talk about Johnny Trujillo because people still show him love because his entire life he showed love to the people. You know,
Yeah.
You know, and him making that decision not to be a solo artist, a good example of somebody that stayed loyal to his brothers too, but he chose to go that solo route was Toby Keith. When I first met Toby Keith, they were on a circuit where they were playing Las Cruces every like 6 weeks, and he had a band called Easy Money, and he got signed as a solo artist because they didn't want the band; they just wanted him. So he agreed to sign under the condition that he got to keep his band, and his band is the ones that recorded the albums with him. They're the ones that toured with him until his death. He still had the same band. He still had Easy Money as his band. And to me, I will always respect that because he signed as a solo artist and became super successful, but he took his brothers along for the ride with him.
Yeah.
Everything he experienced, they got to experience with him, you know. And that, like you said, it's a brotherhood. That's the love and the loyalty that he had toward them because it's like, hey, if I'm going to eat, we're all going to eat.
That's it. That's it. You know, we ain't doing this alone.
Exactly.
You know, so now all that time after Krucez's band, man, all the musicians that came, so many great musicians you mentioned, you know, up to other guys like Arnold, and you know that came after the Trujillo brothers. Shout out to Chris and Ray, man.
That's
Gotta
right.
show them some love too. And then it was time. It was time for something new, brother. Little something called Algo Nuevo started hitting the stage here. Talk a little bit about the time with Algo Nuevo, man.
Okay, so I'm gonna backtrack just a little bit on that, and just talk about the creation of all that. So when we were still playing with the Krucez band, you know, things started to slow down a little bit. We had a keyboard player at the time by the name of Isaac Enriquez, who had cancer.
Yeah.
You know, and so he was going through treatments and all that stuff. But so I got a call, Jaime and I got a call from Marty, my compa Marty Aguilar, one day, and he's like, hey, man, Dennis wants me to put together a little band at the Rainforest, because at the time Rainforest was struggling, and Rainforest had been good to us for so many years, to all the bands.
We got some good times there, man.
They were struggling, so they couldn't really pay a lot of money to pay a band. So Marty's like, we're just gonna throw a little something together for a couple of weeks. You guys want to do it? And like we said, yeah, why not, man? We got a couple of weeks off with Krucez. Let's do it. It'll be fun. It was me, Jaime, Danny Ortega Sr., Junior Salgado. I don't know if you remember Junior.
Junior, yeah.
Accordion player, and Marty Aguilar and Chris Trujillo playing keyboards, because Junior played accordion. And me and Jaime were like, yeah, cool, man. It'll be fun to just sit in the back and not have to be the front man and not have to be the lead singer. We'd switch off on drums and percussion, him and I. So we had a couple of rehearsals and it sounded all right. So we played, and Dennis couldn't pay us anything. What he was doing, the way he was paying us, he was covering our tab. And we were cool with it, man, because Dennis was good to so many bands for years and years and years. So that's how Algo Nuevo started. And we started, so we played a couple of weeks, and then we all were playing with different bands. We took a week or two off to go play with our bands, and then we came back and played another week or two, and we started thinking, man, this band sounded pretty good, And so we started getting people hitting Marty up to book us for like weddings and fiestas and stuff. And, so we talked about it, and we told Marty, hey, Krucez is our number one priority. But if we're not playing, if we have a weekend off with Krucez, we'll absolutely do a show, But we started getting a lot of calls, man. And it started to become a little bit of a conflict, because Marty was booking gigs during weekends that Krucez was playing too. So they were having to get other musicians to cover myself and Jaime. And they, Marty would tell us, it's not the same, man. It's not the same without you guys, Well, Krucez comes first. So toward the end of, I don't remember what that year that was, 2004. Yeah, I believe it was 2004. I remember that Isaac was in remission. We did a gig at Las Uvas Dairy. That was the last show we ever did with Krucez. But we did a gig, and then, we could tell Isaac wasn't doing too good. So I remember on the way, that was up in Hatch, we were driving back, and we had all traveled together, and we were talking, and we decided, you know what, let's take a few months off. Let's let Isaac heal and go through his remission and stuff. And then that was like in October. And, after the first of the year, we'll pick it back up. Well, in that few months, he died. And so we all went to his services and stuff. We didn't talk anything about the band or music or anything like that. And in December of that year, we all happened to be at a Christmas party that the Mendezes were having in Guadalupe. We all happened to be at the Mendezes, and there came a point in that night where it was just the band talking. The spouses and other friends and stuff, they were around, but it was just the band in a circle talking. And we're having drinks and we're laughing and stuff. And I remember I finally just, because I knew that Conrad and Chendel were practicing for a side gig that they were going to do too, which that band ended up becoming Fat Soul.
Yeah.
But we were sitting there talking, and I just remember I felt like I had to address the white elephant in the room. And I asked, all right, so what are we going to do, guys? Are we going to keep this going, or what are we going to do? I said, because honestly, I feel like the band has has run its course, and we've had a good time, and we've been very successful. But I'm ready to do something different. And Chendo said, you know what? I am too, man. And I agree with you. And Chendo was the last original member in the band. You know,
Yeah.
and he said, you know what? I'm ready to do something too. Me and Conrad have been practicing with the Romanes, and we've created a band, a funk group. We're going to help them finish out the gigs that they have as the Rio band, and we're going to create a funk group called Fat Soul. And Jaime
That
said,
was
yeah,
such a great band, man. That was such a great band.
I used to tell those guys all the time, "You're my favorite band," and they were like,
They were badass.
"You're our favorite band." It's like, it's just a mutual respect.
Yeah.
And Jaime agreed too. He was like, "Yeah, me and Bobo, we're starting to do pretty good with Algo Nuevo, and Jeremy Tejas was there. He was our other keyboard player.
Mhm.
So we made the mutual agreement right then and there that we were going to disband the group. We just said, "All right, man, that's it. It's run its course. That's it." And we all hugged and told each other we loved each other. And hey, man, I'll come out and support your gigs, man. And I know you guys are going to kick ass. And they told us the same thing. And in Krucez fashion, man, we poured a bunch of shots of tequila and took some shots together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's where at times I thought you guys should have been sponsored by Jose Cuervo.
well, we were for a little bit. We were sponsored by Budweiser for a long time.
Yeah.
We had a lot of sponsors. Burger Time, Magic Photo, the Elegant Penguin. All these sponsors helped the band get elevated to where we got. We couldn't have done a lot of that stuff without them, especially Kevin McGrath and Burger Time.
Yeah.
Kevin McGrath paid for our first album, wrote a check, paid for it, and the Krucez band would have never become as successful as we did without that guy. And we will forever love that man. And every time I see him, I remind him, hey, man, we became who we became because of you, Kevin. Oh, no, man, you guys became who you became because you were a great band. That's what he tells us. Yeah, but outside of Las Cruces, nobody would have known who the hell we were without you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So you guys decide this, man, and I'm sure one of the big regrets was that it was never something planned for the band to just kind of shut it down. So you guys never got to do like a little a farewell show or a farewell tour. Has that always been one of the big regrets?
It has for me, man. I felt like we never properly said goodbye to the fans and gave the fans the respect that we owed them. Several years later, there was a version of Krucez that was put back together that just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
They had Jaime was in the band and Danny Ortega and Manny Martinez. It wasn't the same though. And they tried to do a reunion show and it was super packed and everybody was invited but me. I got told the day before when they knew that because I was still playing with Algo Nuevo and Jaime had left Algo Nuevo already. When they realized that I had a gig out of town is when I got the call and got invited to be a part of that show. And I felt disrespected at that point.
Yeah.
I just felt like that was because I was just as much a part of that success as some of those other guys.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely, man.
And I just felt like that was a slap in the face to me.
Yeah.
And I lost a little bit of respect for certain people. But
I don't blame you.
Squashed that. We've had that conversation since,
Right.
But what's funny?
So that at that point, you probably went all in on Algo Nuevo.
Absolutely, man. But what's funny is that there was one night that Fat Soul. Algo Nuevo. We happened to do a Cinco de Mayo show in Mesilla in the plaza. And before we played, the band that went up before us was, I think it was Los Latinos, which Mando Albiar, was playing with. And then, ironically, and Jaime Trujillo was still playing with Algo Nuevo with us. But ironically, Fat Soul was playing at El Patio. Once the fiesta was done, Fat Soul started. And Jeff Sagreto happened to be in town. At the time, he was still living in San Antonio. So all the members of the Krucez band happened to, we all decided to go check out Fat Soul and support our boys, Chendo and Conrad and the Roman brothers and Chris Gomez. So we're all there, and we got asked to play a song when they went on break. If we'd get up and play a couple of songs with the Krucez band. And we were like, we hadn't even thought about it, and Chendo's the one that brought it up to us, and we're like, yeah, fuck it, why not, man? It'll be fun. It was a packed house, right? So we got up and we ended up playing a full set. Like unintentionally, we just started calling off songs, and it was like
it's like falling into the old act, man.
Yeah, we fell right back into it, and it's like, man, it felt like we had never left, and this was probably 10 years after we had disbanded the group.
Yeah.
But we just fell back into it, and we unintentionally had a final show together. And it was a treat for us, but it was also a treat for the people that were there at the club. And that's the last time that we were all ever on stage together at the same time. And
and a lot of the fans that were, you guys had such a loyal fan base back with Krucez band.
Yeah.
And they almost, it's like they became, like that same fan base came over to Algo Nuevo, because I remember so many of them seeing all the same faces at every single gig that I would see with Krucez band. And now when we were with Algo Nuevo, it was the same thing you would see. So much loyalty from the people here in Las Cruces, man, that you have had from the Krucez band days to Algo Nuevo. What is it about the fans here, bro? Like the people that followed you guys for so many years still show you so much love when you see them. What is it about them, man, that helped you? Because you would tell me there were nights, we'd be getting ready to start a gig, and you would just tell me, bro, I am not feeling this tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not. And then, by the time you were halfway through, you would be like, okay, man, the crowd got me going. Well, what is it about those fans, man, that just kept you going, even on nights that you were not feeling it, man?
I think just the fact that they always showed up. They showed up. They paid their hard-earned money to come hear us, and they always showed us love. They always, I will forever love the fans in Las Cruces and El Paso, because they always showed us love, man. And I think that's why I made it my mission and my job every time I stepped on stage to show them love right back. And everybody in the band, I would make sure, if it was somebody new to the band, hey, man, this is the way we conduct ourselves, and this is the way we're going to be toward the fans. This is how we're going to be on stage, because we owe that to them,
Yeah.
And it's true, man. It's like there were a lot of nights that I was tired or whatever, and I wasn't feeling it. But by like the third song, I was into it, and I always knew by the third or fourth song I'll be all right, because I would have had my shot at tequila on my first beer before the gig even started. And that was my little ritual, and then, but just the fact that people were there, and one thing I learned at an early age is that there were times where we'd be playing to a small crowd of maybe 50 people or so, and they're dancing every single song. And then there were times that we played to a packed house and not one person is dancing. But I learned right away, if they're tapping their feet and they're clapping after every song, they're paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people wouldn't dance. We'd go play at a new city or whatever. People wouldn't dance for the first set because I think they were watching the band.
Yeah.
It felt like more of a concert because they wouldn't dance. but they're clapping after every song. They're tapping their feet. They're bobbing their heads, and it's like, all right, well, we got them already. And by the second set, the dance floor's packed. But sometimes I got more joy for playing the smaller crowds and the smaller venues because it was intimate and those people are truly appreciating it. But one of our favorite shows every year that I think we did 13 years straight was for the Special Olympics. And we always did that show for free for the Challengers Bowling League and stuff. And that we always loved doing that show because that was the most appreciative crowd we would get all year. Because
it would dance. It would dance.
You remember those shows, man?
Yeah, I remember them, man. Yeah.
And we would look forward to those shows. It didn't matter if we played in Denver the night before. We would drive all night to get home to be able to play that gig at 2 p.m. on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people don't realize too, that was a show you guys always did for free.
Always, yeah.
That was something that all the band members, it was an understanding that we knew, okay, nobody's getting paid for this. It was cool because we would get to eat, stuff like that. But I think, at least for me, and I think for you as well, and probably for all the guys, the payment, the reward came from seeing how happy they were.
Yeah, they're smart. That was truly a joy to us. And we'd be in town going to restaurants or going to shop somewhere or whatever on random days, and we'd see one of those kids, and they'd be so excited. Oh my God, it's Bobo from the Krucez band. They'd be so excited to see me. And it's like, man, that would just bring the biggest smile to my face and warm my heart, because it's like, I didn't always remember their name, but they always remembered me. They always remembered every member of the band, because of what we did. Another charity that we always played for free too was the Children's Miracle Network. Well,
St. Jude's.
St. Jude's, yeah. We just that's one thing about the Krucez band and Algo Nuevo is that we never turned down a fundraiser unless it was a political one. We refused to do political fundraisers for free because they're making money. So if you're making money, you're charging $100 a plate to get in, you have the money to pay us. Because we weren't going to pick a side politically either way. But as far as fundraisers for somebody that was sick, a child that needed a heart transplant or something like that, we never turned it down because, everybody needs help sometimes. And like me, I always felt like, hey, someday it could be me that needs the help.
That's right. Or someone you love.
And I love that the community supported us when we had a fundraiser for Mom back in 2012 when she was diagnosed with cancer, and the love and the support that she got from the community, I just felt like, okay, all my years of doing fundraisers and supporting my community, this is how I'm getting it back. It's for my mom. All those years that I thought someday it could be me that needs the help. This is it right here.
Exactly.
And I love that. And when I get back to playing music, I will definitely always be down to do fundraisers.
Yeah. Now that is an example. I think everything you just said, from the fundraisers and the feeling of doing those shows, is just and the impact it had on the kids and stuff. It just shows you the power of music. The power of music, period. I tell people, music to me, at least for me, is, they talk about the power of love. And music to me is pretty damn close to being just as powerful. The impact it can have on people. The impact that it has, like, the great Rakim once said it when he said, the power of music, it has so much power that it does something to our psyche because of a song that can take you back, that can bring back memories, that can bring back a smell. He talks about, hearing certain songs that all of a sudden it takes him back to his dad washing his car. And, like us, we can We can listen to oldies, man, and some of them will take us back to, Sundays when mom's got Crosno cranked up, and I can see it, and she's washing clothes and things like that. The power of music, bro, is just something that I think we both agree goes beyond comprehension at times. You can list it in so many ways, the impact that it has on people. Now, the power of music is the love of music is something I think we were born with. Obviously, it's in our blood. But I think you and Johnny, my brothers, have taught me so much about music. But the love has always been there for music.
Absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit, bro, about just your love for music, man, and the impact that it has had on you, not just since everything from when we were kids to your day to day now.
My love for music, I've always felt like even the times I've stepped away from playing for 6 months or whatever, and now it's been 2 years since I played. I've always had in my mind that music will always be there, no matter what relationships I've been through or whatever, anything in life, jobs, stuff like that. All that stuff comes and goes, but music will always be there for me, and I feel like it's always there for anybody, you know. And you're right, as far as you can hear a song and it'll take you back 20 years ago to a certain moment or certain place or certain people that were with you at that time, and everything in my life, in my day to day, even now, I relate everything to music. The way I do things, the way I think, everything is related to it. I will find a way to relate music into that, whether it be a certain line of a song or whatever.
Yeah.
And Andrea laughs all the time because I'll do that, but she's gotten good at doing that too. It's like I'll say a line, she'll say something, and then she'll say a word or whatever. It'll make me think of a song, so I'll say the line to the song, and she'll repeat the next line back to me. But music has definitely gotten me through some of the hardest times of my life. Not just me playing music. Well, some of the hardest times for me as far as a musician, because it doesn't matter how hard my day was or my week or what I'm going through in life. Once I stepped on that stage, nothing else mattered, because the only thing I could control in my life was what I was doing at that moment on stage. So all my bills, all my worries, all my stresses, I got to put those away for a little while, at least for those 4 or 5 hours that I'm on stage, or that hour and a half or whatever. I got to put all that stuff away because I couldn't control anything but what I was doing in that moment. But, even if I hear like a Krucez band song now, I may not have heard it for a couple of years or whatever, and I'll jump on 101 Gold on Sundays. I'll jump online and I'll be listening to Phil or Magic Mike, and they'll play a Krucez band song, and it'll take me back to being in the studio with my brothers and recording that song, or what happened that day. You know what I mean? And I love that about music. And I think everybody has certain songs that have become a part of their soundtrack in life.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You can sit there and and you don't just it's different when you're a musician, because you have a different set of memories that tie to music, but the music lover's still there.
Right.
And everybody out there listening, this doesn't just pertain to us talking as musicians. Anybody that is a music lover, yeah, you're right. It's a soundtrack of your life, man. Like, the most important times of your life when you're a kid, and like me, I'm a kid, and I remember I could listen to like Huey Lewis and Hall and Oates, and it reminds me of being in the car with mom when I was a kid, and we had the radio on, or I get into the 90s and I'm listening to Tupac and stuff, and it reminds me of rolling with my boys. Or I'll listen to like Coco Rayado, and it reminds me of being at Sunland Park with the band. So it's just, You're right, man. Like it's just everybody has a little bit of that in them
Yeah.
because music has touched them because there's an important part of their life where there was music they were listening to, and you don't realize that. Whatever music you listen to when you've got things going on, things that you'll remember later on down the road, you don't realize that you're making those memories, and ultimately music is going to be a kind of time machine for you. It helps you remember the good times, the bad times, and even feel it.
Yeah, because good example. There's certain songs that I'll hear now, whether it be a Brian McKnight song or whatever, that will take me back to a sad time in my life. When I can hear that song, it'll still bring a tear to my eye because it takes me back to that moment. And it reminds me of the hurt and the pain that I was experiencing at that point in my life. And I have yet to meet a single person in this world that does not like music. It doesn't matter what kind of genre they're into, but I have yet to meet one single person that says I don't like music.
Music, it's universal, man. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
It's universal.
There's certain genres that I don't care for. Like I don't care for banda. I know a lot of people do. I don't care for banda, but I definitely respect the musicians that play that music, because just because I may not like a certain genre or certain band or whatever does not mean that those are not talented musicians. Because a lot of those guys that play in the bandas, it's like, man, those guys they're schooled musicians. I mean, they have their master's degree in music and stuff. They're talented musicians.
Yeah.
And one thing I hope that people always remember, that when you go out to see a local band or whatever, what you're seeing is the finished product of years of hard work and dedication and rehearsals and sacrifices that those musicians have made to be there in that moment. So I've tried to never sit there and think, oh, this band's terrible, or this guy can't sing or whatever, because I know what it took for them to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you look at it different as a musician that way, though. You can sit here. A lot of people will sit here and tell you, "Oh, I don't like this artist or this band," and that's it. They're just like, he sucks. But it's the musician in you that makes you say, "But I respect them because I understand what it took for them to get here, whether I like the genre or not." The musician in you tells you what the average music lover doesn't have that musician in them to tell them. And that's not everybody. But I feel like when you said that, I'm like, okay, that's the musician in you talking in terms of the love of music right there. So it's a big difference.
Because I mean, that there's the musicians that I don't respect are the manufactured ones.
Yes. Yeah.
The ones that the record labels put together.
Yeah, corporate mainstream.
Yeah, exactly, and that have to use auto-tune because they really don't have a voice. Those. It's hard for me to respect musicians like that, because it's like you didn't have the talent enough to work your ass off for years and years to get to where you're at. You had a little bit of talent and a bunch of production behind it from a great producer that got you to where you're at in a year's time. It didn't take you 10 years to get here. It's hard for me to respect that.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the corporate mainstream, man, is all it takes is some deep pockets, for them to just kind of say, okay, we are going to tell everybody that you are good. We are going to tell everybody that this is what they should be listening to.
Right.
We're going to put the money out there and get you on radio everywhere till it comes to where that's all you're hearing. And that's, as somebody who's into hip hop, that's something that I saw happen, after 2010, that became a thing. And now we're starting to see a lot more of the underground talent come in, because the internet really has changed music, man. It's changed our access to music. You remember back in the day, man, we used to have to hope that, when's Hastings going to get this CD in?
Exactly.
Or, when are we going to start hearing this song on the radio that I'm hearing about, or MTV or whatnot? Whereas now that you got Spotify, now you've got the internet, you've got YouTube, everything. to where it's almost like there's so much access to it that a lot of it still gets missed.
Right. You know, I feel like the internet took a lot of the fun out of music for me.
Yeah.
You know, it took out the fun, like you said, of going to the record store, you know, being Hastings or whatever, and actually taking the time to look through CDs or cassettes or whatever to find that one album that you've been waiting for months to come out. The internet took out the fun of standing in line for concert tickets to see one of
Camping
your
out.
favorite artists, you know, camping out and hanging out with family or friends, you know, overnight. Like that type of stuff, this new generation will never experience that stuff.
You know, you remember the feeling, bro, of going, to Hastings or wherever, Music Land. Some of y'all may remember that back in the day. Yes, I know I'm giving my age,
Record
but
bar.
you remember yeah, you remember the feeling of going and buying a cassette or even a CD later on, and what first thing you do, you open it up, man, you throw it on, and you're reading the lyrics with it. You're
Yeah.
reading their message and their thank yous in there. We don't really have that anymore.
Yeah, they took
You
out
don't
all the
have that.
liner notes.
Yes, everything like that, man. When an artist was able to put out, because people would wait, so many people would buy these albums, man. So when you're reading the liner notes, everybody's reading this,
Right.
and
Like,
that's not something you have. If they say, "Oh, an album's up on Spotify," cool, I can listen to it today then. But I don't have that experience
right. They
of
don't
going
have
and
the
reading
liner
the whole
notes on
album.
there.
Yeah.
When you look at a song on Spotify, it'll show you um, the writer and the producer and the publisher. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, the band Krucez, they used to call me the musical almanac because we could hear songs. It didn't matter which genre. I could tell you who wrote the song, who produced it, and the musicians that played on it, where it was recorded, because I read all that stuff. I loved music that much that I paid attention to all that. So a lot of times we would do shows with these artists, and it's like I wasn't even excited to meet the actual artist. I was excited to meet the drummer and meet the bass player and meet the keyboard player, the guys that played on these albums with other artists that I just admired. You know, like for a long time, nobody knew who Chente Barrera was. I
Mhm.
did. To me,
Yeah, you're the one
he
that
will
actually
always be
you're the
one
one
of
that
my
actually schooled me to him. Yeah, yeah.
he will forever be one of my favorite Tejano artists. But before he became known as a solo artist, he was writing a lot of Jay Pettis' hits. He was playing on all his albums, and it's like, man. And I remember the first time I read Chente Barrera on a CD cover. I mean, on the liner notes, and it's like, this dude is a beast, man. He's a beast of a drummer, you know, and he's such a nice guy. I mean, you met him when we brought him to Krucez.
Yeah.
Um, just a very humble human being, and you wouldn't even know the amount of talent that man has within him by just sitting there talking to him,
Yeah.
because he's that humble, you know. You have no idea how many number ones he's written, just like Gilbert Velasquez.
Mhm.
You know, one of the biggest producers in Tejano music history. That guy has 16 Grammy Awards, and you wouldn't even know it if you didn't know who he was and you sat down and had a conversation with him in a restaurant or something. You wouldn't know the talent that man has and the artists that he's produced, and the fact that he has 16 Grammy Awards. Who can say they've got 16 Grammy Awards? Not a lot of people.
Not a lot of people can even. There have been so much talent out there. People that didn't even win one, and these are people that lasted longer than just one hit or something. Like I think a lot of it when we're talking about like the experience of music as a fan that they will never have anymore. If you remember my interview with Young MC, I
Yeah.
liked what he said when he talked about the commitment that you had, back then, because you had to go spend your hard-earned money. Well, you might have just heard one song off the album, but in order to get it before singles came along, you had to
Exactly.
go and buy that whole thing. You had to stand in line. You had to get it. You read it from front to back because of the money and the time you put into it. You listened to the whole thing over and over, and there was just so much more commitment, I think, as a music fan
Right.
back then. You know, so when you spent that money, you were stuck with it. Now I can listen to like Spotify, and I'm like, okay, I probably ain't gonna listen to this album again. You
Yeah,
know, or I might go back to it. But back then, it's like, okay, if that was the one album I can, you know, when I was a teenager that I can afford at that time, that's probably what I'm listening to for a whole month. You know,
exactly.
and convincing myself that I like the whole thing, even though there might be songs in there that I'm not feeling. I'm convincing myself, damn it, I paid money for this. I love this artist. I like every song on this album.
Yeah, most of the time it's like you would tolerate the 2 or 3 tunes you didn't care for because the rest of the album was great.
Yeah, but you got
You
those
know,
album fillers that you would tolerate. Yeah,
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 yeah, and that's
exactly.
exactly what they are, is fillers. You know, the artist doesn't necessarily care for the song, but it's like, we need something to fill the last 2 or 3 songs, and
Yeah,
make it a ten song album. But
exactly,
he's right. It's
exactly.
like, it was dedication and it was love of music,
Yeah,
and you would sit there to take the time to read through all that stuff out of the appreciation for the music,
exactly.
and that was just in our time. Can you imagine back in the 60s and 70s, the true appreciation that people had to have for music, to wait, 2 days in line to get tickets to a show?
Yeah, you didn't have YouTube where you can just pull up live performances, you know,
Right.
or anything like that, man.
Like, one of the coolest things I experienced with the Krucez band is, and I think you were there for the tail end of it. It didn't matter where we played, what city, what state, whatever. Anywhere we played, it could be a Thursday night or a Sunday night. There was a line around the building to get in to hear us play.
Packed. It was packed. Yeah, I remember.
We would pull up and it'd be like, damn, all these people are here to. Who else is on the bill? Oh, it's just us. Like, damn, they're here to see us. And
Yeah,
we'd be
yeah,
joking, before we got into the building, we'd be like, man, we better bring it tonight.
yeah.
You better have your shit together. You know, I'm not going to be the one to embarrass the band in front of all
That's
these
it.
people, man.
That's
You
it,
better not
man.
be
That's
either,
it. It's gonna be on you. It's gonna be on you.
Exactly.
So, man, we can do this all day. So switching up, man, real quick from music now.
Hmm.
Um, talk to everybody about the impact, man, that Familia has had on you. You know, not just, of course, we have our Familia, but you know, I've always told people a lot of times there's people in your life too that impact you that don't may not be blood, but Familia doesn't always have to be blood. But even with your blood, talk to me about Familia, brother.
Man, just as far as blood family and people that I consider family, uh, everybody, all you guys are part of what makes me me. Part of what makes me the man and the human being that I am. All the love that I've gotten from everybody and all the love that I try to put out to everybody, because of my family. Man, my number one cheerleader in life has always been mom,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and my sister and my brothers, you know, you guys have been my biggest cheerleaders, and your biggest cheerleader.
yeah,
You know, we,
yeah.
we all, we're all mom's biggest cheerleaders, and Johnny's and Tammy's and Eric's, because we want each other to succeed, you
Hmm.
know, and even just like close friends that I consider family. They've always been so supportive of me, and they show up to the shows and they tell me that we sound great even when we've had a bad night, you know, stuff like that. You know what's funny, man? Not to get off topic, but it seemed like we used to laugh because it seemed like we got more compliments about how great we were when we had a crappy night than when we had a night where we thought we kicked ass. We might get 1 or 2 compliments when we thought we kicked ass, but we get 50 of them when we thought we had a shitty night. But but man, family is just everything to me. And my little family that I have here in Arizona now, it's like I've always lived my life to work my ass off in anything I do, um, for my family, for my daughter, for my mom, for my siblings, for the woman that I love, you know, um, because I want to make all you guys proud of me. And I always want to be proud of you, and so I will always work my ass off every single day to make sure that I make myself proud first so that I can make everybody else proud.
There you go. There
Because
you
if
go.
I can't take care of myself or make myself proud, how can I take care of anybody else that I love? You know?
Exactly. And I feel like you know, one thing is like self-love is probably the most important because you can't properly love those around you
Right?
unless you are good with yourself, man. I mean, I'm talking flaws, everything, because we're not perfect. But one thing I think familia has taught us is that it's that unconditional love, and you have to be able to have
Absolutely.
that for yourself. You cannot provide that for those around you 100%. Give them 100% unless you're comfortable in your own skin, unless you got that unconditional love for yourself, acknowledging your in your own head, your mistakes, your flaws, your good things, and accepting it, and then being able to say, but I still got enough in me that I can love my familia unconditionally, man. So I think that self love is very important.
Absolutely, man. And one thing that a lot of people that aren't musicians or artists may not know or realize is that most artists and most musicians suffer from anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of great songs, a lot of good music and great paintings and stuff have come from that depression and come from low points in life and come from heartbreak and come from anxiety, because that's our way of releasing that stuff and
Yeah,
being able
emotion.
to move on.
The emotion gets tied to our art.
Absolutely.
And that's how we connect it.
So that's another reason why I've never tried to knock down any musicians, or even if I don't think they're great or whatever, because I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what it took for them to get to this point to create the music that they're creating. That may be their salvation, is being able to release that into a song.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of times that I know a lot of artists. I'm sure you're one of them. There's a lot of artists that I know that have written songs, knowing full well that they're never going to release them.
Mm-hmm.
These songs are just for them. It was part of their healing and part of something that they released. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to put this in this box now and I'm going to leave it there. And it's
Yeah,
not for the rest of the world. That's for me.
yeah, yeah.
I've written songs where it's like, they're not for anybody to hear. They're for me.
Mm-hmm.
You
It's
know?
true. It's true, and it's how we as artists heal.
Yeah.
It's part of how we use music as a sanctuary, and I've always considered family as also a sanctuary because it doesn't matter what happens, man. Like, if things are going bad, we can always call mom,
Right.
and or I can always call you, or I talk to Johnny, or sometimes Tammy, and sometimes it's not even talking about what's bothering us. It's just connecting as
Right.
family, and the act of us just kind of catching up a little bit, that is a little bit healing as well, because it reminds me that, look, man, we're all dealing with stuff, but when you've got family, it's just a reminder that you're not dealing with anything alone. And unfortunately, there are people out there that don't have that. And
Right.
so I try to, every single day, that's why I appreciate family so much, is because I know there are people that don't have what I have. They don't have the ability to reach out to their brother and say, hey man, how you doing? And I think that's one of the reasons for a long time I've told people, when we all talk on the phone or wherever, we never hang up, we never get off a conversation without telling each other I love you.
Exactly.
Because you never know, man. When it comes to family, it's a reminder that life can just end, and on a snap, like, and you just never expect it. So one thing that family has taught me, and I know it's taught us, and mom always taught us, was to make sure that you just you appreciate each other, and you
Yep.
let each
Yep.
because that strength that mom gave us, man. I'll tell you one thing. I still to this day try to, when I'm dealing with stuff, man. I don't know if you're the same way. I get down on myself or something, and then I have to like remind myself, like, man, look who made you, bro. You need to be stronger than this. You know what I mean? Because it's hard, man. When you've got that kind of strength to try to follow, it's a little challenging, man. But that's a compliment to you, Mom. That is a compliment. That's all I'm
Absolutely.
saying.
Sometimes when I've gotten into a pity party part of life, I'll sit there and I'll tell myself, how can you sit here and feel sorry for yourself? Look at what Mom's been through.
Yeah.
Look at what she did to raise you guys, man. Shut up, wipe your tears, and get up and do this
Keep moving
adulting
on.
thing all over again. Hit the
Keep moving
reset
on.
button, you know.
That's it.
Absolutely. You
That's it,
know, but one thing I will say about family is that I would never ever trade the upbringing that we had.
man. Never.
You know, mom taught us how to appreciate every single thing that we have, every blessing that we get. You know, she taught us how to be good human beings, man, and I will forever love her for that.
Yeah, and I think one thing that growing up with a single mom did was, the four of us, and then Eric came later, man, and Eric was kind of that new life that I appreciated, that Mom was able to kind of do more for him than us, but not like in a bad way, but it was because she wanted to be there doing this kind of
Right.
stuff. When she was, a single mom, she couldn't. And when Eric came along, it was like, yeah, it was good to see her happily being a part of, the karate tournaments and the t-ball. And so he gave her a new life. As for us growing up, I think what got us, why we grew up so close, the four of us, was because of the fact that it was always just us. Mom's working 2-3 jobs, but we appreciate you. You grow up and you start to appreciate a lot more what your upbringing did for you and how hard your mom or your dad or both of them worked, man. And so I think every one of us has kind of had our own little role to play in her life, in Mom's life, and she'll still sit there though and just tell you, well, if I got to go to work, if I got to do this and this, then it's got to get done. I got, and I used to tell her, Mom, I don't know how you did it working 2-3 jobs. And she would say, because I didn't have a choice.
Right. She's told me because I had to.
Yeah.
I had to, Yeah. Who's gonna pay the rent? Who's gonna put food on the table? I had to.
Yeah. That's it.
And
man.
it's like, conversations that I've had like that with Mom, it's like I feel like such an asshole for the bad things we did growing up. And she'll tell us, you guys were good kids. You didn't really do stuff that bad, but it just makes me feel like such a jerk for any disrespect and stuff that I ever showed Mom.
Yeah.
Because she didn't deserve that from any of us,
But I think that conscience and regret, though, is part of that good upbringing, though.
Absolutely. Otherwise, we wouldn't care.
Exactly.
Mom would show up. She'd show up to my school concerts and stuff when she could, and she always showed up to every gig that she could. So, Mom will always be my biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I'll always be here.
She always will be. Yeah. She's always been proud of us.
But real quick, man,
go ahead.
I just want to tell you that I'm very proud of you, man. I'm very honored to call myself your brother for the things that you've accomplished as a man and in life and as a musician. And now with your 2 podcasts, it's like I'm so proud of you, man. And once in a while, you need to pat yourself on the back for the hard work you've put in to accomplish the things you have in life, bro.
Well, doing this was kind of my way of trying to pay homage to you. You've been not just my mentor in music. My brothers have been, like I talked about how Johnny, I've told people he's taught me how to write a song in bar structure and all that stuff. And you, like, I learned so much about music from you. Even to this day, Betsy will ask me something and I'm like, you know what, that I don't know, but I know who does. She knows I'm talking about you. Like, just not just with music, man, but you taught me how to be a man. And not saying that you were perfect at it, because none of us are, but you provided somebody to look up to. And I think a lot of people don't always have that, and so anything I am that I've done is because of you guys. It's because of you, man. You have been probably the most important figure. You know, you guys have been the most important figures in my life. Even to this day, everything I do with music, it's like, what's Bobo gonna think of this? You know what I mean? Or if I'm writing something with something, I might send a little something I send to write to Johnny, and it's like, what do you think of that? You know, and he'll give me his thoughts, man. So your opinion means the world to me, brother. So I appreciate that, man, because it's your opinion's probably higher than anybody else's. You know, of course, other than Betsy.
Yeah.
Okay, hers matters the most, man. But you know,
Good
it's
save right there. Good save.
yeah. But that's how it is, man. You nurtured that love for music,
Thank you,
as well as the love for family, bro. So now, before we get all emotional here, let's flip it up real quick, man. And this is going longer than I told you it would, but hey, when you're having good conversation, that's what happens, man. So
what I hope people understand is that you and I could do this for days.
Yeah, exactly,
You know?
exactly. And that's it. Right now, y'all, we're not even talking football right now. We're not even talking sports. Aggies or not, man. That's a whole other,
another day.
Talking right there. But so I just mentioned the Aggies, man. Las Cruces, brother. We're born and raised here. You know, you have especially. You talked about the musicians. You know, the fans, the people, the familia, your friends. This community, bro, is a big part of who you have become as well. How you talked about family is and the music. Tell everybody, man, about what Las Cruces has always meant to you.
Oh, man. You know, Las Cruces is home. Because of music and because of what I do for a living as a land surveyor, I've had the opportunity to work all over the country, play all over the country. And it doesn't matter where I'm at. You know, what I miss the most from Las Cruces is the people. You know, because people are so friendly and so respectful and so loving. You know, you have your bad seeds out there, but not very many. But it's not like that everywhere. But when I think of Las Cruces, the first thing I think of, aside from my family, is the mountains. I miss my mountains. You know, it didn't matter where we'd be playing in the country or whatever. We'd be getting home on a Sunday or Monday morning at 5 or 6 in the morning. We'd come over that hill coming from the west, come over that hill, and you see the Oregon Mountains, and it'd be like, man, I'm home.
I'm home. I know that feeling all too well. Yeah.
And I still think that way too. When I go home to visit, it's like, as soon as I see my mountains, it's like, man, I'm home. You know, when I think about Las Cruces, I think of comfort and security and love and just so many people in my life that I love, some that are no longer with us. But when I think of Las Cruces, I think of the community, all I think about is love, you know, because that community, we love each other in Las Cruces. And I may not know the guy next door, but if he needs my help, I'm there to help him. And that's the mentality that's in the Mesilla Valley.
Yeah.
You know, not just Las Cruces, but Mesilla, Doñana, San Pablo, Mesquite, you know, that whole community. I just think of love, you know, and friends that I know that came to Las Cruces to work at New Mexico State or whatever with the various jobs. They might only be there a couple of years or whatever, and then they leave and they go about their lives. But I'll talk to them. They'll tell me, man, I still miss Krucez. Everybody misses the food. You know, I miss the food for sure. There is no Mexican food in this country like there is in southern New Mexico.
That's right. Yeah, so that leads me to that next question, bro.
Yeah.
Of your spots here in Las Cruces, man, okay? What is your favorite Mexican food restaurant? I know you had some that are no longer here, so you can mention that too. But also
Yeah,
throw in of the places now, because I know when you were coming to visit, you were already listing off your places that you knew you had to stop
yeah, I
and
gotta
get
hit
a
my
certain
spots,
fix
man.
from, man. So give me your little list of your favorite Mexican food restaurants here in Las Cruces and the surrounding area.
Yeah, because I don't have just one favorite. Because there's certain dishes that I like from
Yeah,
each restaurant, But like Nellie's was always one of my favorites. You know, Chalas, I love Chalas. You
Chala.
know, La Posta, got to have my salsa and the rolled tacos from La Posta, Chachis, um, Chilitos,
Chilitos. What
Los
about
Compas.
Chopez? I know you're a Chopez fan also.
Oh man, Chopas, I'd go over there to get my chope bowl, man. There's just so many places there. That's one thing I love about Las Cruces. When it comes to Mexican food, there's not a bad place to eat.
That's
Doesn't
true.
matter where you go. There's not a
Yeah.
bad place to eat.
When I lived up north, I used to tell people up there because the food is so different up north. Like
Yeah,
over
there's a
here,
lot
we're
of
gonna
bad places to
we're
eat up
over
there.
here. Yeah, oh yeah. Over here, we'll call it Mexican food here. You know, when you go to El Paso and you got more of the actual Mexican, they call it the authentic Mexican food.
Yeah,
But you go
there's a
up
lot of
north,
good spots in El Paso too.
yeah, there is. You go up north though, and it's new Mexican food. Like it's a little different at times. Some of the dishes are a little different. I remember freaking out the first time I went up there in Santa Fe, and I went to Garduño's and ordered some red enchiladas, and it was bright orange. And I remember that was when I first found out how they were putting flour in the red chili because it was too hot for the tourists. And I'm like, "Are
Yeah,
you kidding me right now? Take me back home! Damn it, man!"
have some pride in your chili, New Mexico.
Exactly,
Come
man.
on.
Exactly. Making New Mexico look bad, but it is different. And I would tell
Yeah,
people up there that there is nowhere that I have ever been that has such a great variety. Like I mean, of Mexican food restaurants to choose from that has good Mexican food than Las Cruces. Because, like you said, on any restaurant you go to, you're probably gonna like at least one dish on their menu.
right. I mean, to me, it's southern New Mexico and far west Texas,
Yeah,
which is El Paso County.
yeah,
It's going to be harder for you to find a bad place to eat than a good place to eat.
true,
You know, like
true.
there's Mexican food spots in Deming that I love. Same
Oh
thing in
yeah,
Alamogordo and Ruidoso. That's why I say it's southern New Mexico
yeah.
because anything from Socorro south, you're going to find good Mexican food.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Lily, actually, yesterday, I remember we got all excited because I went to Walmart here, over here on Valley, and they used to have a McDonald's there, and that's been empty for now. Well, now there's a sign there that's saying they're bringing back Burger Time. It's going to be a Burger Time Express. And I
Oh,
got
that's
all
awesome.
excited. Yeah, I got all excited, and it has the listing of all the stuff. And Lily's telling us, well, why is it called Burger Time? And I told, because I told her, baby girl, they got these, they're famous for these, the rolled taquitos with the cheese. I said,
Yeah,
they got tacos, they got burritos. Well, why is it called Burger Time? And I told her because that's their main thing was burgers, but they also sell a lot of other stuff. And she's pulling the kid thing of, but why? But why is it called Burger Time? I'm like, baby girl, because they make good burgers. But why? Why is it called? And I'm like, baby girl, okay, in this part of the country, I said, this was one of the first places that was going to give you one of the best burgers in town, but also give you some of the best Mexican food in town, and they were going to do it all in
absolutely,
fast food. You know what I mean? So it was just funny
absolutely,
that
man.
I saw that, but I got all excited about that, man. So I'm like, hell yeah, yeah.
She wanted to know the specifics, and you couldn't give her the specifics because there's not one specific reason.
And tell it, it's
There's
like you just
several.
had to be there. You had to be there when it was open. You know what I mean? You
Exactly.
had to. So all right, man. So now, before I let you go, real quick, man, I got a couple of quick questions to ask you.
Okay.
This one here. Now I know you've got multiple. Okay, so give me. I think I know who your favorite artist is. Maybe even your band. I think I do. But for those that don't know, your favorite artist and your favorite band ever, all
There's
time.
too many to go, man. So I'm gonna give you a list.
Okay.
So some of my favorite bands. Well, my all-time favorite band is Earth, Wind, and Fire. I also love Tower of Power, Chicago. The old school Little Joey La Familia, Ruben Ramos and the Mexican Revolution. The Gap Band, anything funk. Um, I really don't have one single favorite artist. I have a lot. Like I have some of my favorite singers in the world are like Brian McKnight, Ruben Ramos, Luther Vandross, Philip Bailey.
I
Plus I
always
have
I always feel like Prince was up there for you.
Prince, absolutely, man. Prince was absolutely one of my favorite artists, more so than Michael Jackson.
I still I've gotten into arguments with people, but I still feel that he was a bigger, I should say, more talented, well-rounded artist than Michael Jackson.
I agree because of the fact that Prince played several instruments.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't just a singer. Michael Jackson could play piano and he wrote and produced, but not to the level that Prince did.
Yeah.
And to me, and I've gotten into arguments with people about this that are huge Prince fans. I've told people, because I honestly feel that Bruno Mars is the modern day. It's this generation's Prince.
I think he's a good cross of Prince and Michael Jackson because of his dancing that he does on the performing. But yeah, I see where you're going with that. I see where you're coming with that because what Bruno Mars does right now, I mean, is there really an artist out there that can replicate everything he does from not just what he's doing, in the studio, what you're hearing, but when you see him perform, I mean, I love seeing his charisma. He really gets into character when he's doing his performances, man, which is something Michael Jackson did. But then you hear the music side of Bruno Mars, and you're like, okay, I can see a little bit of Prince there.
I mean, like even his band, the Hooligans, those guys are on point. Yeah. They are badass musicians. His brother is an incredible drummer. But he put that band together. He handpicked all of those guys, and Phil, excuse me, one of his backup singers and his guitar player, the three of them are known as a songwriting team called the Smeezingtons. And they're the ones that write all that music, but he's such a talented guy, and he surrounds himself with equally talented people. And that's what makes him great.
Yeah.
And Prince was the same way. Prince demanded greatness from all of his musicians. And that's what the great artists do. They demand greatness from everybody around them.
Yeah.
But then you will find those artists that all they want is yes men around them.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think every musician, every songwriter, whether you're doing rap music, whether you perform on stage, whether you're playing an instrument, there's got to be that little bit of ego because that's where the confidence comes from. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? The confidence to be up there. But at the same time, there's that ego. You see a lot of the guys that you're talking about that want the yes men, the guys that aren't quite as talented because they don't want to feel threatened. That ego is so fragile. Those are the ones that don't have the longevity, I think. But when you've got the artists that are able to temper their ego enough that they want people just as talented as them around them, those are the ones that end up having the longevity in the game.
I mean, the ones that have longevity too are the artists that they heard no 100 times before they finally got that one yes.
Yeah.
But they worked at it. And every time they got told no, they worked a little bit harder to perfect their craft and to get better at their craft. Mm-hmm. And we were on a lot of showcases where we didn't necessarily win over the reps of the certain record companies that were there, but the good record companies and the good reps that were there were classy enough to sit down and talk to us afterwards and say, you guys have the right idea and you're the right band, but you just need to tweak a few things. And they would give us advice on what we needed to change about our image or our sound or the way we played to make us a better band, to elevate us, and they would tell us, we hope you take our constructive criticism and make it work for you, because we want to see you back on this. We want to sign you to our label, and a lot of times with artists, they'll get signed to a label, but they won't record anything. The label will put them on tour for a year or a year and a half to become tight as a band or to be better musicians. They will put them on the road intentionally for that before they let them record anything, because those 100 no's that all these great artists heard, it made them become better songwriters, become better musicians, become better on stage as far as their stage presence, stuff like that. And all that stuff takes hard work and dedication. And there've been I've known a lot of very talented musicians that they quit playing because they got tired of the constructive criticism. They took it as a negative and not a positive.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I would have never been on the radio if I didn't have the ability to take constructive criticism. Yeah, it hurts, because like I said, when you're an artist, you have to have the ego. So any shot that tells you something isn't quite good enough, it's a little shot on the ego. So you feel it. But it's about, man. Yeah, but it's about what you do with that. If you can put the ego aside enough to say, okay, I'm going to take this and listen. Some artists, the ego is so big that you're just like, no, I am not changing anything about what I'm doing for anybody. And a lot of times I think that is what has held back a lot of our artists that maybe we've never heard of to this day.
Yeah. Like there's, and you and I have had this discussion several times. There's a very fine line between confidence and cockiness and arrogance. Yeah. There's a very fine line, but you do have to have a certain arrogance, which is confidence, to even get on stage and perform in front of people. People don't realize that when you're first starting, that takes a lot of guts, man. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there for criticism and for people talking shit and everything else. It takes a lot to get to that step. But after a while, I started getting the mentality that, and I was taught this by the Krucez band, keep your ego in check. Don't be an egomaniac. Don't be self-centered and stuff. You always be humble. But the minute you step on that stage, you got to remember you're the baddest motherfucker. That is your stage. You own this stage. This is your crowd. You're here you're the best musician on the planet. And you have to have that mentality in order to put on the best show that you can put on. Because if you just go up there with a lackadaisical attitude and just like you don't care, or you don't have the confidence to think that you're a good musician, then you're going to put on a half-assed performance. And that's not fair to the crowd. So you have to have that mentality. Once you step on that stage, you know what? This is my stage. I run this show. This is my stage, and I'm going to put on a hell of a show. And the minute you walk off the stage, that stays on stage. It's like your alter ego. Your alter ego has to stay on stage. And once you walk off that stage, you turn back into you.
Yeah, you got to be able to flip that switch.
Absolutely.
A lot of times it takes experience to be able to manage that. You learn to do it over time.
Yeah, and it did take me a while to learn to flip that switch off, because I'm sure there's people from my past that will tell you that maybe my ego got in my way sometimes. I mean, I won't admit to that, but I'm sure people will tell you that.
That's the ego saying, don't admit to that shit. Just acknowledge that there's people out there that might say,
I'm sure
man,
the first one that would tell you that is mom. Mom, because mom always put me in check when I needed to be put in check,
Yeah.
She'd be the first one to tell me, hey, don't act like that. I didn't raise you to be like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you feel silly because it's like, man, mom's putting me in check, you know?
Yeah, that's mom is always, it don't matter how big the ego is, it don't matter how big the attitude, whoever you are, mom is always the person that can get away with putting you in check no matter the situation, no matter the how old you are. When mom tells you something, you can't say nothing back. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just like, okay. So, all right, brother, before I let you go, man, for everybody out there, whether it's musicians, whether it's music lovers, whether it's just people that can relate to what we talked about with Familia, man, give me your final thoughts, any little message that you want to leave out there, man, for anybody watching this.
Well, I'll just pass on something that I was taught by a couple of men that I hold in the highest respect, and that's Johnny Trujillo and Ruben Ramos. Both told me the same thing. Always respect your crowd. Always respect your fellow musicians. Always respect the DJs. Always respect everybody around you, man, because these are the people that come out to your shows, pay their hard-earned money to come out to your shows, to buy your music, to request your music on the radio. You know, you always show them love. You always show them respect, because you may meet somebody in life, and it doesn't just pertain to music, anything in life. You may meet somebody in life and never remember them ever again. But the impact that you have on them, the way you treated them, that's something that they may never forget for the rest of their lives. You know, and
Right. That's
so I've
right.
always tried to keep that in mind when I meet people, because that old cliche rings true. You never know what people are going through in life.
Yeah.
You know, you never know if you're the only person that shows them kindness that day, or actually has a decent conversation with them. You know, like out here where I live in Arizona now, I see so many homeless people. And I'll, you know, when I see them at a store or whatever, I'll tell them good morning or hello or whatever, because they probably don't hear too many kind things from other people sometimes. And it's like, man, we're all human beings. We're all God's children, and we all deserve to be treated with respect and with love and kindness, you know? So always be kind to people, man. And until they give you a reason not to be, you know, like
Well
mom
said.
always taught us, you respect people until they give you a reason not to respect them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I agree. Well said. Well said. I've always taken from mom is that whole, I hear a lot of people that say, oh, well, you got to earn my respect. But to me, it's the opposite. For me, it's like, as long as you're showing me respect when I first meet you, I will continue to show you the same respect until you don't show it. Then that's when the other side comes out, but
exactly,
luckily, I think we can both say, because we've lived by that, I end up having a lot more respect for and from people, because that's the way I come at it. You know what I mean?
exactly. Well, one thing I don't like about some people is that sense of entitlement. It's like
Yeah,
nobody's entitled to shit.
yeah,
I don't care who you are. I don't care how successful you are, how famous you are. You're not entitled to anything, because ultimately, when it's time to meet our maker, we're all equal.
yeah. That's true.
You know,
That's true.
financial status, fame, all that, none of that is ever going to matter. You know,
Yeah.
so always be respectful to people. Always show them the love that they're showing you.
There you go. There you go. Well said, brother. Well said. So, hey, just a reminder: if you enjoyed this episode, if you watched it on YouTube, it is also available on Spotify, iHeart, and Pocket Casts, or the other way around. If you're listening to it, you can catch the show on YouTube as well, now that I'm back with Off the Grid. And if anybody out there has somebody that is doing something here in town, somebody you think should be recognized, man, we want me to bring them on the show, let's talk. Holler at your boy, offthegrid.lc@outlook.com, man. And we'll work to get that going, all right, man? So, anyways, before we go, man, I always try to end every one of my shows with a positive message, and with Off the Grid, it's always based on, the experience of my guest, and in this case, it's you, my brother. So I always like to tell people, man, one thing that you got to look at when you're hearing other people's stories and hearing their experiences in life is sometimes you don't even have to know that person, but you can relate to a lot of what they're saying. So there might be people that watch this and listen to it and relate it to something, whether you're into music, whether you're just, it's something with family or with life or with your closing thoughts a minute ago. So the way I tell people, man, sometimes whatever it is you're doing, stress is going to come at you no matter what, whatever it is you're doing in different forms. And sometimes you do got to take a step back, maybe do something different. You know, sometimes maybe something ain't working for you in your life and you've got to make a change. Or maybe you just decide that, you know what, I just need to kind of be by myself for a while. Whatever it is, man, that takes you away from what you're used to doing, your comfort zone, that's you going off the grid. You know what I mean? And it's okay to do that because sometimes I think that's what we need. Sometimes we like to use the term recharge. And I think that's what, to me, that's what it's doing sometimes when you go off the grid. You go off, you try new things. You know what I mean? You meet new people. You experience new things in life because it can do a lot to make you grow inside. So the way I see it, man, is it's okay to go off the grid once in a while. But whatever it is you're really good at, do not get off that grind because that right there is exactly where you shine, each and every one of you. So anything you got to say, brother, before we clock out of this thing?
No, I agree with you on that, man. We have to remind ourselves sometimes in life that it's okay to step out of our box and out of our comfort zone because that's what's going to make us better people.
Yeah.
You know, like me, when I joined Latin Function, I started doing salsa music. I had to step out of my box and out of my comfort zone and do something that I didn't know very well to make me a better musician. You know, but it's okay. It's okay to be scared to do stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of growth.
It is.
But I guarantee you, everybody that's been successful in life, they had to take those scary steps to step out of their comfort zone and just have confidence in themselves and love enough for themselves to take that scary step to progress in life, you know.
That's it.
But I love you, man. I'm proud of you. And to any upcoming musicians out there, just respect yourself as an artist first. You know, you don't have to cuss in your music for it to be great. It's greater when it's not vulgar. You know, and if you're looking for a place to record, my brother's got a dope studio, man. Hit him up.
There we go, man. There we go, y'all. So stay confident, everybody. All right? Stay confident in yourself. Don't be afraid to do new things, man. It will help you grow and conquer those fears, all right? This is Off the Grid. I am Gabriel Garcia, a.k.a. The Wicked One. That man right there, that is my brother. That is my influence. That is my mentor right there. My brother, Adolfo Bobo Garcia. I love you too, brother. And everybody out there, holla at your boy. I'll be back soon with another episode. Who knows what I got left for you guys, man, but I got some big things coming in 2025. So again, I am Gabriel Garcia. This is Bobo Garcia. And it's time for us to get up out of here. We're off the grid, y'all. Get you guys on the B-side, all right?
Leave your drama behind and let's roll. The world is getting lost in my feel-good flow. Oh!